KC, and I'm the owner of Masters Communications. We can be reached at masterscommunications.com. For this presentation, we're going to be talking about the DRA series digital radio adapters and how they are implemented to convey digital communications in amateur radio. So what they are basically is a sound card interface designed to connect computers and two-way radios together with minimal hassle and cost, but provide maximum value and performance. Again, we can be reached at masterscommunications.com. So what do they do? Each one of these is a radio adapter that is optimized. It's an optimized sound card per se that's used to connect two-way radio to a computer or host for conveying digital communications. The DRA series radio adapters are used for packet radio or other digital communications like Vera FM, Sound Modem, or Direwolf under the Windows operating system. They can be they are a result of the re-engineering of the successful RA series All-Star Link radio adapters that we've been producing for years. So actually the DRA series is not something that's new from the standpoint of its design. We have thousands of All-Star Link radio adapters out there. These DRA series are just sort of a specialized radio adapter that has had some changes, small ancillary changes made to them to make them more adaptable and more usable in the digital radio world. So like our RA series, they are inexpensive and high quality and very high performance. So what applications do they work with? A sound card interface like the DRA series can be used with appropriate software to modulate and demodulate various digital radio signals. They include AFSK, GSM, Vera HF, Vera FM. That's what probably most of you will be doing. RDOP, Winmore, FT8, PSK, all of them, and certainly many more. In addition to Winlink Express, there are other software applications that may require other software that can be used to convey other digital communications, and some of those protocols are FLDigi, Vera Chat, and FT4 and 8. So why should we consider a DRA series radio adapter over something else? Certainly we're not the only one that produces interfaces to connect radios to computers. We feel that our stuff has the highest audio quality. The DRA series uses the genuine C-Media CM119A USB audio chipset. It ensures the highest quality audio for fastest throughputs. This part is obtained through the manufacturer's distribution system and is guaranteed genuine. There are some manufacturers out there that are using Chinese fakes. We don't believe in that type of business protocol. It's a very high quality overall. The quality is very high with the DRA series. We use the highest quality parts for the best performance. This includes a custom engineered PC board, which I actually produced myself. Top quality components from Nichicon, Rubicon, Panasonic. That's where our electrolytic capacitors come from. We use gold-plated machine IC sockets and Vichet resistors and Bourne trimmer pots. So it's all very high quality components. Another reason you should consider our stuff is we build in some protection that other radio adapters don't. One of the things that we have that other manufacturers maybe haven't even thought of is what happens if you put this apparatus on a mountaintop or a remote location and the application fails, and now you have a radio that happens to be stuck in transmit. That would be a horrible thing. So all RA and DRA series radio adapters include a heartbeat monitor. When the CM119 is happy, the software is running, you'll actually see a green LED flash. When that happens, you will additionally see a blue LED called COM OK illuminate. And that means that the radio adapter and the host computer are communicating with one another and everything's happy. If the heartbeat LED should stop flashing because the radio adapter or communications to the appliance has failed in some way because the software has stopped, crashed, whatever, the blue COM LED will go out. And when that happens, the health status becomes at a point where it says, hey, I'm not okay anymore. I'm not ready for operation. So when the blue LED is not illuminated and something isn't right, the push-to-talk circuitry is actually disengaged. And at that point, it's impossible for the radio adapter to continue to push-to-talk the radio. So if that should happen, then the radio gets disabled and no emergent trips or inconvenient trips to the radio site to kill a stuck transmitter. The circuitry was designed to operate no matter if the heartbeat is stuck in the on or off state. I've seen it happen both ways with different applications that's driving this. Sometimes when the communications is lost, the LED's lit. Sometimes it's not lit. So it doesn't matter. There's a 555 timer that's actually looking for the pulsing of the heartbeat LED. And it's kind of being run as a missing pulse detector. And as long as it's pulsing, everything's good. The transmitter is enabled. If it's not, then it's not, and it doesn't. So we have a couple of different radio adapters, and really there's two big things that are different between them. The main difference between like the DRA 30 and DRA 45 and the DRA 36 and DRA 50 is the amount of audio level that's available from the transmitter. For instance, the DRA 30 and DRA 36 just simply use the audio that's available directly from the CM119. It's basically enough to drive a set of headphones or the microphone input on most radios. We have found that some radios under 9600 baud operation do require more transmitter audio. And for those instances, we have the DRA 45 and the DRA 50. They have additional audio amplification over the standard amount that's available directly from the CM119, and that amplification is then necessary in some instances with some radios. The secondary feature between the DRA 30 and 45 and the 36 and the 50 is the lower number of the two, in this case the DRA 30 is, in this case the DRA 30 and DRA 45 both have the DB9 connector. The DRA 36 and DRA 50 have the mini DIN 6 connection. So what features do we have that are other than what we've spoken of? It's very small. It's great for portable deployments. We have 3 status LEDs to let us know that we have push to talk, a heartbeat, and the communications to the computer are good. We have different radio adapters with different connectors on those, the DB9 or the mini DIN 6, depending upon the radio that you have. I will go into just a little bit of detail. The DB9 connector is pinned the same as a Cantronics KPC TNC. So if you have existing radio installations that have a Cantronics TNC, our models that have the DB9, again, that would be the DRA 30 or DRA 45, are directly compatible with that particular set of cabling that you may already have in place. So obviously if you have like a Yaesu 8800 or 8900 or any newer radio that has the mini DIN 6 data connection on it, then the DRA 36 and the DRA 50 are the two that should be considered for those types of radios. We have solderless configuration headers and jumpers, so there are some features that you may want or may not want, and depending upon whatever that it is that you're doing, you don't have to solder jumper wires on the board. They're basically just a mechanical jumper that goes on, and you can on the fly make changes to this without having to get the soldering iron out. Plastic cases are now available in multiple colors We used to have just a simple white case, and it had a different model number on it. It was actually designed for the RA series. I've had a gentleman out in Washington State design the new plastic cases. They're very nice. They'll work with either the DB9 or the mini DIN 6 radio connector. And they have some really neat features, like you can use a piece of white plastic filament to bring the light from the surface of the printed circuit board where the LEDs are out to the surface of the lid. It's used like as a little light pipe or a fiber optic cable. And it's very nice. It's a very elegant design case. And we actually 3D print all of those in-house. Everything is made in the USA from mainly US and Japanese components. I try my best not to source things from China if at all possible. In some cases it's a necessity, but in most cases it's not. And we believe in keeping things here stateside if we possibly can. All of our products are available as a complete kit where you assemble it, comes with all of the components, or assembled and tested. Right now, the assembled and tested is kind of on a you ask me, and I basically ask a team of people that I have put into place whether or not they're available to assemble, and we give you a timeline that's available then to choose from. So, you know, in the spirit of ham radio, things are available as kits. The CM119 is a surface mount component. It does come pre-soldered on the board so that when you do the assembly, it's just through hole components. And most people that have soldered some things together before, even if it's just making, you know, radio connections with DB9s or whatever, most people would have the capacity of building these things themselves. So this is a DRA 30. It's the most basic radio adapter that we have. It has the DB9 radio connection on it. All of the radio adapters do have 3 potentiometers. There are 2 transmit pots and 1 receive pot. And you might ask, well, why would you have 2 transmit pots? You have to remember this particular integrated circuit was intended to be used as a pluggable USB sound card for Windows computers. So it has a right and a left headphone audio output. We choose to bring both of those out because you may want to do things with one or the other audio. So all of the radio adapters do have both transmit audios brought out at least to a jumper or completely out to the DB9 connector. The next one is the DRA 36. It's basically the same as the DRA 30. Its main difference is the mini DIN 6 radio connector on the output side. The DRA 45 is basically the DRA 30, but the additional audio amplification with these 2 integrated circuits here on the right-hand side. They are an LM386, and they have enough output capacity to drive a speaker. So they obviously will drive any radio's input, no matter its input impedance. So they're a very stable integrated circuit, very low distortion. Obviously, we have to be concerned about adding noise and distortion to our transmitted signal for the highest throughputs, and this particular integrated circuit works very well for that particular amplification process. The DRA 50 is basically the DRA 45, and again, the exception is it has the mini DIN 6 connector on its output. So pricing, it's all in the model number. Generically, with all of our radio adapters, the numerical part of the model number is the price of the product in kit form. So in other words, if you're looking for a DRA 30, it's 30 bucks as a kit. A DRA 50 is $50 and so on. Assembly fees and the plastic cases are options, obviously options that cost more money. Shipping is extra. Currently that's $8.50. My default shipping method is the United States Postal Service priority mail. I ship things in a box because I hate things that are in a bubble wrap package. You never know what might happen in the shipping process, and the last thing I want you to do is get something in the mail that's smashed or unusable because it wasn't boxed and shipped correctly. So at this point, we have some questions and answer session. So I'll go ahead and give this back over to Dan and let him go ahead and moderate that portion.
Okay, anybody got any questions? I would appreciate if you use the raise hand method that is located down below your participants list. Raise the hand and we'll catch you on that. You can also ask questions in chat. Any questions out there? Any answers out there? Okay.
While people may be coming up with some questions, I will just give a brief synopsis of what has transpired with the DRA series. We've had some questions in the past about is there a difference between, people may have bought the RA series before the DRA series was available, and is there a difference between them? And where audio is concerned, there is no difference. The audio quality and quantity is the same basically from the previous products. The DRA series just has jumpers and different connectors and different wiring of those connectors to make it more convenient for the people using these things in their digital applications. So, so anyway, that's one of the things that we have covered in the past.
Okay. Oliver, you're in there for a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I also want to point out, because I just saw the question in chat, if you want to raise your hand, move your mouse over the window and click on participants. And when the participants window opens up, in the lower right-hand corner, there's something called raise hand. So you can click on that and that'll raise your hand. My question is, Kevin, have you found it different? Have you found that different discriminators, that radios are very different in terms of how much drive they need? I know that for our Kenwoods, the discriminators seem to need a lot of audio. What do you recommend people do about that?
So yeah, when you say discriminators, I think you meant modulators, but sure, in the instance of the transmitters needing different amounts of audio, that's the reason why we have the radio adapters that have the different amounts of audio available. Some radios, certainly on their microphone inputs, just the naked CM119 by itself, the DRA 30 or the DRA 36, is plenty of audio for the 1200 baud operation or driving the modulator or the microphone input at 1200. When you go to 9600, some radios are actually quite numb on their inputs and require a lot more audio for proper conveyance, to get the bit error rate low, to have enough audio to modulate the transmitter to the correct deviation. We need more than what the CM119 itself will produce. And that's why we have the radio adapters with the LM386 amplification, on the output, because, running off of 5 volts, you get about 4 volts peak to peak. I've not found any radios in digital that's not enough. But if it isn't enough, we actually have the ability to put 12 volts into the radio adapter externally. And with that, if you jack the level up in Windows, you can get 12 volts peak to peak out of that LM386. I don't care how numb that the radio is, you're going to be able to deviate it to a full amount with 12 volts peak to peak of audio. Great question, by the way.
Is there a website that I can check this out on? I missed the first few minutes of the presentation.
Sure. My website is available at Masters Communications. That's Masters, plural, Communications, plural, all run together, masterscommunications.com.
Well, thank you very much, Kevin.
You're very welcome.
Whoops. If you please raise your hand. Just
you in Maryland have a question?
Stu, please raise your hand. Use the raise your hand.
I did.
Okay, I'll call upon you when we get there.
Oh.
Oscar, go ahead.
Yeah, hold on. Hello, Kevin.
Hi.
Hello, Oscar KP4 Radio Fox from Puerto Rico. We like your product very much, and at the same time, I have actually an observation that just to consider. We have an experience during Hurricane Maria that we lost one audio board actually in a sensitive place due to the fact that we lost the cable because of the mini-DIN. So those are very difficult to fix on the field, but definitely we love the DV9s. I know that you have the option, but just to, because this is for training the people, I just want them to know about it as well, that DV9 is much easier to fix on the field.
Sure.
And this is something to consider because I make my own cables and I buy the connectors of the mini-DIN, and I tell you you have to be really skillful to get it.
Sure.
Now I'm going for the question. Do you have a procedure to adjust the output audio of the boards? And I think this is very important that if we can find a procedure how to do that. And I have a third question after that.
So let me answer that question first. I don't have a procedure because every radio requires a different amount of audio. Every computer puts out a different amount of audio due to the settings that you may have your computer set at as far as the volume settings and record settings in Windows. So unfortunately, I don't have there's no set procedure per radio because that's not a constant or a static thing that I can say, do this and do that, and it'll be perfect. Really, the right way to set up the audio level of any radio, as far as transmitter deviation is concerned, is to use a communications service monitor. Obviously, not everyone owns a communications service monitor. So that makes it really difficult. And we've had some inquiries about, can you make something that I can use maybe and apply it to a Bofang handheld and it gives me a bar graph or whatever? And we're looking into that. Unfortunately, even with the Bofang handhelds, there are some of those that are knockoffs, and the amount of audio available from the discriminator isn't the same even in the same series radio. So it has made some real big challenges for us to try to come up with something that is a calibrated instrument that you can trust. So until we come up with something with that, really the only way is to search around or ask around and see if someone has one of two things: either an already existing setup that works and you can use that to calibrate off of, or set it up using a service monitor.
All right, so I can keep asking questions on that line and asking you how many kilohertz you need to have like a good audio transmission from in FM, in the case of FM. But I will leave it there. Probably next week we will have a kind of an answer for that. My next question, which is interesting because there are a lot of people actually interested in this kind of sound card, and that's the important part because it can be used for emergency communication. That's the point. The thing is, do you have been able to measure the BARA FM maximum transmission using your boards, and also at the same time for the BARA FM as well with the BARA FM? I mean HF, high frequency. Okay,
so to answer your first question, understand that the CM119 is a very high performance audio integrated circuit. It will convey audio frequencies, fundamental audio frequencies, from 20 cycles to just slightly greater than 10 kilohertz. So its audio capability far exceeds that of what standard voice transmission is on prepackaged radios. Most prepackaged radios that we're using have a voice audio frequency response of 300 to 3,000 cycles. Some are a little tiny bit more than that. I have a Yaesu radio that I just done a sweep test on, and that particular radio actually goes slightly higher than 3,000 cycles. And because of that, Vera FM will connect at slightly more than the 9600 that you would normally see with that conveyance. But again, it really depends on who you're connecting to. If they have the capability of that amount of conveyance as well. This is a two-way street, and for you to have, you know, two-way conveyance, both parties have to have that capacity. I can tell you this, that we have some folks that are running some highly modified GE Delta radios that have increased the audio bandwidth both in the lower sense down to about 50 hertz, clear up to about 6,000 cycles. And they're running data rates. This is not on Vera FM. This is a different protocol, but they're running data rates on the UHF band at greater than 50 kilobits per second. So that's using my radio products. So I know that they have the capacity of running very high quality links because we're doing it right now.
All right, thank you.
What was your third question?
No, that was it. The
okay.
FM and the HF.
Oh, you said, okay, so Vera HF. Unfortunately, right now, Vera HF does not have the capacity built in to drive the push-to-talk on the CM119. So understand that the CM119 and its utilization in these protocols is kind of a carryover of the All-Star Link radio adapters and using GPIO3 as the push-to-talk logic switch. So thankfully, we have a fellow that has worked with some of the software designers to incorporate the utilization of that GPIO3 into Vera FM sound modem. I'm told that in not a lot of time, Direwolf's Windows protocol is going to have the capacity of running the CM119's push-to-talk. With that, you know, we're able to make the radio push-to-talk, but unfortunately, none of the radio adapters that I spoke about have Vox capability. Now, one of the things that I need to mention is I do have a DRA 65 and a DRA 70, which haven't been released yet, and they have Vox built on the boards. In order for Vox to work, we have to take one of the audio channels and we have to use the high power amplifier that we have on there and run that wide open and then use that to actually drive some small circuitry, which is a Vox, to key the Vera HF. Most of the radio protocols that are out there do drive both the left and the right channels simultaneously. So in doing so, you take one of the audio channels and you use that to drive your transmitter's microphone or whatever input. And you can use there's individual pots on both channels. So you probably have to turn that down pretty far because it would be really loud. But turn it down to match the amount of audio necessary to drive the transmitter. The second channels run wide open to drive the Vox, and then the Vox actually keys the transistor on the radio adapter, the same one that the CM119 drives, and then that keys the HF radio. It also is designed that it will illuminate the push-to-talk LED on the radio adapter. So it sort of works identically to the you know, to that protocol, but using Vox instead of a hardwired logic.
Okay.
Great questions.
Okay, Ray, W7CIA, we got the gov in here. Go ahead there, Ray.
First a comment, the C Media chip supports the lowest sample rate is 44.1 kilohertz, so it should be able to reproduce frequencies up to 22.050. That's the Nyquist limit, the lower Nyquist limit. But my question is, do you do a custom device descriptor, or do you rely on the default device descriptor?
I do rely on the default device descriptor. However, you know, that's all subject to be able to be changed either by hooking the radio adapter up to the to the appropriate software. I don't do anything to the CM119 to limit its availability of being talked to by C Media's protocol. And we also have on some of the radio adapters the option to run the EEPROM. So if you wanted to, do anything special with this in the future, the EEPROM capability is already set aside with most of these radio adapters, and that gives you the options of running a lot of specialized descriptors if necessary.
Okay, I'm just going to disclose a problem that occurs elsewhere, just so that you might want to consider avoiding it. A lot of devices like ICOM radios, Kenwood radios, your competitor SignalLink, and Behringer mixers all use Texas Instrument codecs, and they rely on the default device descriptor. And they all disclose themselves as USB audio codec, and that presents some real device selection issues if you have mixes of these devices attached to the same computer. The problems you encounter are OS specific, but it'd be really nice if the C media chip becomes more prevalent in other products, that we don't have device selection problems because your descriptor matches everybody else's.
Right, I understand that, and it certainly could be changed. However, at least in everything that I've done so far with Windows 10, the device descriptor, Windows shows this as a C media device. So unless I'm missing something.
Other operating systems, it's more of a problem. On, for example, Mac OS, if you plugged in 4 of your devices, you couldn't tell them apart, and redundant items are often suppressed from selection items in menus. And,
sure.
And so it's like I said, it's an operating system specific issue, but I just wanted you to consider that.
Sure, right. Understood.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, Don, W0AF, you want to take her away?
Sure. Just in your presentation, you mentioned that this can come assembled or as in a box with everything has to be assembled. Does that surface mount IC, or do you mount that yourself, or do we have to do that?
So all kits come with the surface mount integrated circuit pre-installed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Stu, we finally got to you, sir. Go ahead and take it. Stu?
All right, had to unmute here. Thank you. Okay. Hey, Kevin, you've sold a lot of kits to a lot of hams here around Rockville, Montgomery County, Maryland recently, okay? They're all putting the DRA 50s together. So my question to you is, I see on your website that you can order assembled kits in case. It allows you to do that. Can you explain more where you said you have to reach out to your team if that's the case, and then I guess provide a time when that would happen? Is that what you were saying?
So basically what you do is there's an email link on my webpage. You just click on that and you email me, and I'll respond to you and let you know what the current backlog is and what to expect as far as an assembly time and time to shipment. So I have, besides myself, I have 2 other assemblers.
Okay.
And basically what I do is I try to keep track of what they're doing currently and be cognizant of, their family needs and other things. This is a hobby.
Okay.
We've put hundreds of radio adapters together in the last, month or so, and we are busy, but we can accommodate. We would rather sell kits to the people that have the capacity of doing that. We certainly understand that not everyone has that capacity or ability, maybe because of physical limitations or whatever. And for those folks, we can accommodate that, putting these radio adapters together and sending them pre-assembled, tested, and ready to go.
So Kevin, you're saying communicate by email, then you would come back and say, we can do your order maybe in a month, okay? So what happens then? Do I mark my calendar and then order in a month, or what?
Basically what I would do is we'll decide together what product is best for you.
Okay.
At that point, I would send you a PayPal invoice. You pay the PayPal invoice, that gets you in line. And from that, we are then able to build the product. And I would give you beforehand, I would know, while I answered the questions up front, I would give you an idea. Currently, we're at about 14 days from from time of order or time of payment of that until it ships. We're not too bad right now. Unfortunately, the United States Postal Service is a little more behind as of late. One of my assemblers is in Washington State, and sending things to him generally in the past has taken no more than 3 days. The last one took 6 days to get there. So obviously, if I'm telling people 14 days and then it ends up taking 3 more days for UPS to get it to him, and then maybe another 3 more days for UPS to get it to you, or USPS, I mean, then, you know, then it's more than 14 days. But again, it's a hobby. Most people are very cognizant that, you know, we're in a situation with our country that's difficult at times, and everyone's been very patient with us, and we certainly appreciate that.
All right, thank you, Kevin. So that's how the process works. Just start with an email back and forth and go from there.
Correct.
All right, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Thank you. Great question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before we go any further, just in case, Barry, do we have any questions over from the chat area?
I think that all of the questions are answered, depending on how Jim, if Jim has a question, he posted it in the chat too. So let's ask his question, and then I'll see a couple of other ones.
Okay, Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, I have a DRA 50, a couple of them. Can I like your new case. Can I order the case, and will it fit on the older DRA 50?
Yeah, so the new case, the DRA case, is available from the website. It's available under the DRA section. So if you go to the website, just look under the DRA section, under the DRA case. We have that available in several different colors, and certainly you can order just the case by itself. You know, just let me know, you know, when you order online, it tells me what you're ordering, what color that you want, and all of that. You don't really need to communicate with me. It's all, the online ordering session works very well.
All right, thanks a lot.
And it does work with any of the RA and DRA series radio adapters. It's not just for the DRA series. It will work with the RA series too. You know, before this particular case was invented or created, why alls we had was the RA case, and unfortunately, some modifications had to be done to that to attempt to accommodate the mini DIN 6 connector. That required actually putting the lid. I am not a very good machinist, but I have an end mill and some things that I do here, and I actually made a thing that I'd put the case lid in, and I used the end mill and machined the lid to have enough relief that it would snap over the mini DIN 6 connector. But it also made the case very fragile, as you know, and you know that can create a problem where the lid can break or whatever. If that's not acceptable to you and you want another case, certainly they're available online, and they are the same price as the original cases are.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, Kevin.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Excellent question.
Okay, Thomas. KF7RSF.
Sorry, I had to remember to unmute my audio. Thanks, Dan. I have a 3D printer, and I have printed some of your original cases. I will have to say the design is absolutely perfect. They fit beautifully. They work extremely well. Are you going to make the design file for the new case available for download as well?
I am. Currently, what I do is, if you'll send me an email, I basically have an agreement that I will make you agree to. It's very simple. It basically says that you're not going to go into the case making business to make money from them. That's what I'm here for. I don't care if you make cases for your local club. If you're not making hundreds of cases, I don't care, and that's fine. So sure, we will accommodate. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for answering the question. And just as a and aside, I've personally purchased and assembled 7 of the boards now. I can assemble one from scratch in the same amount of time it takes my 3D printer to print a case. It actually takes me longer to sort the components. I'm quite colorblind, so I have to sort everything with a meter. But I can start with a naked board, assemble a case in the amount of time it takes my 3D printer to print a case.
Right.
But no, I have no intention of going into production mode. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. But please consider the fact that there may be hams around you that don't have the capacity of building. And we do have other, besides the people that I have that are not really employees, they're just friends of mine that I have employed to do this assembly work. I've had other people say, hey, you know, I'm in a hot spot of this thing. Do you mind if you just send the radio adapters to me and I'll build them and you know, give them then to the people that want that? And that's great. What I would prefer to have happen at that point is when you order and make the shipping address correct for the person that is going to be assembling it to make my life easier. PayPal kind of has some restrictions on how I can change the shipping addresses, and it takes away some of my privileges and protections. So I would just prefer that you folks handle that on your side if you're getting things shipped to someone else. But please consider being one of those people, because if you're that good at assembling, then you need to be assembling for the folks that are around you.
Of the 7 that I've assembled, I have 2 of them personally in use, and the other 5 I've given away. I didn't even sell them. So
great. That's
I'm
great.
a big fan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
All right. Barry, how are we doing over in the chat area?
Okay, most of the questions have been answered. There were a few comments. The DRA 36 and 50 can be jumpered for either 1200 or the 9600 pins. Any of your other models require a cable for the radio, which can be built either way. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's absolutely correct. So in the case of the DRA 30 and DRA 45, both audio outputs that come out from the transmitter is on separate pins. And understand that in the case of the input to the CM119, there's no differences on board where the CM119 is concerned for 1200 or 9600 baud. But there is from where the radio standpoint is concerned. So because there's only one audio input to the board, but there may be 2 sources on the Mini DIN 6, one for 1200 and one for 9600, that has to be jumpered from one source to the other to make that switch. And there is a mechanical jumper that can be moved from 1200 to 9600 so that you don't need to resolder anything or do anything like that. It does require a quality cable with all 6 conductors installed in that. Not all you know, Mini DIN 6 or PS2 cables have all 6 conductors, so you do have to be cognizant to purchase a quality cable. We weren't in the cable selling business before, but I just received a case of DIN 6 6-foot DIN 6 cables, and we will be making them available on the website soon. If you want to purchase a DRA 36 or 50 and you want to purchase the cables are $12. They are a pre-assembled thing, no soldering involved or whatever. The option's not available on the website, but if you email me, what I can do is send you a PayPal invoice with whatever that it is that you'd like to have. And especially if you're ordering assembled and tested products, you're going to be emailing me anyway. So you can simply ask for that quality DIN 6 cable, and I can include that into your order as well. Great questions.
Okay. For Vera FM, for example, on HF, the standard no ALC advice applies, correct?
That's correct. Yes. No ALC, and in Windows, you don't want to have the AGC tick checked either. So on the receive audio, we have the the R12 is the larger blue pot of the pots, and that adjusts the receive audio. If the receive audio seems to be really touchy and all one-ended and kind of at the low end of the scale, you may have AGC enabled. If you look on our website, there is a complete tutorial in Windows on how to disable the AGC so that you don't have that to be contending with. And that applies to HF or FM or any of the protocols that you're using Windows with.
Okay, one more. Is it true you need to raise the pot until the volume stops getting lower and then just lower it a bit? That seems to make the thing work better.
So one of the fallacies is more isn't better. You can raise the pot listening on a radio and keep listening and listening, and you don't hear any audio increase, and back it down. You can actually back it down a good bit. You know, you really don't need the amount of audio that you think that you might. So less is more in this case. So a little less audio generally gives even better throughputs.
Okay, that's it. That just about covers all of the questions from chat. Dan, I see you have a hand up now.
I do. John, W2VTV, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. I have a rig blaster that I used for many years for doing digital work. It was sitting in the closet, so I decided to try to hook it up to my laptop. Now, I'm having trouble with the laptop because it only has the mic and headphone jack on the side. Now, I found this. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's an audio breakout. Now, can I use this to bring the audio out of the laptop into the rig blaster, which will then go into my Yaesu 847 for some 6-meter P2P?
I would say yes, that you can. You know, I didn't get a good look at the audio adapter that you had there, but it looks to me as though that it's a USB plug and play, you know, device. And if by chance that particular chipset that's in there has high enough quality parts in it and so on, you may be very successful in doing exactly what you're saying. Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Wrong. I don't know if you can see this. This is an Audio Technica Breakout, and it has the 4-conductor phone jack on it. So it's not USB, and the rig blaster takes 2 audio cables, and then it goes in via the microphone connector on the 847, and okay. It's like CAT. So
sure, yeah,
it's usable. I mean, your stuff looks great, but you know, being a frugal ham, it was in the closet.
Oh yeah. No, and that's fine. You know, a lot of people say, well, I've already got a Signal Link or, you know, some of these older rig blasters or whatever, and they're fine. They're you know, they're the kind of the gold standard. They've been around for years, and they'll work fine for 1200. They're not going to work fine for these higher protocols that are being released. They were never intended to pass, you know, data at 9600 or faster than that. You know, someone has mentioned, you know, my specifications, I say that the CM119 is good from, you know, 20 cycles to 10,000 cycles. Yes, if you run it at 44.1, it's going to even have higher than that. Distortions actually get pretty wicked above 10,000 cycles. So I like to say up to 10,000 cycles. At 10,000 cycles, if we start to have softwares that allow fundamental frequencies of up to 10,000 cycles, we're going to be pushing or be over the legal limits of bandwidth that our ham radio licenses will allow. So at this point, unless we go even in higher in frequencies where conveyance of digital can be, you know, a lot faster, protocols that use fundamental frequencies above 10,000 cycles likely aren't going to be necessary.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Appreciate it.
Okay, Barry, you got anything over there?
Nothing else in chat. Everything has been answered.
Okay, looking for more hands. No more hands. Are there any comments?
Someone wants to know what the bandwidth limits are.
So it depends on the particular band. What you should probably do if you want to truly understand what the limitations are of the usable bandwidth per amateur band is go and read the FCC rules and regulations, Part 97. That will tell you exactly what bandwidths are allowed. So I don't want to get into that as a part of this discussion because that's not really what I'm here for. But I will tell you that we have to be cognizant on the amount of bandwidth that we use. We can't just open our radios up and have everything as wide as possible because we do have limitations that we have to comply with.
Okay. That's all the questions in chat for now.
Okay. Well, we're starting to slow down on the questions. Do you have anything more you want to say there, Kevin?
Did Scott Curry, did he happen to come aboard? Is Scott?
Yep.
Okay. I'd actually like to include Scott on some of the things here from the standpoint of Vera FM and sound modem. Scott certainly understands these protocols from the standpoint of the software much better than I do. I'm a hardware guy, but Scott is, he's just very good with this kind of stuff. And I'd like to kind of have him do a wrap up of what it is that we're trying to do as a manufacturer of a hardware product in conjunction with these software packages that are available currently.
Sure. So actually, I'm one of the hams that worked with Kevin early on to essentially beta test the DRA series of products. There was a few of us that recognized the potential of the RA adapters for doing packet radio and VARA, so we approached Kevin to make some of those changes, and he was very open to that and incorporated those, and I think we've had a pretty good successful product line here that's very competitive and quite useful for folks. I work for emergency management in my local jurisdiction, and I work with the emergency communications team there, our volunteers, and so that's really my bend, if you will. I play around with some of the other data modes, but mostly when it comes to this stuff, I'm interested in how can we do emergency communications. And so I'm very focused on Winlink and Winlink Express. And we've had really good success moving things to sound card modes. It used to be if you wanted to do data with Winlink or even some of the other packages, you had to buy a hardware TNC. If you wanted to do high speed on HF, you had to buy a Pactor modem, very expensive Pactor modem from SCS. And when we moved to sound card applications, many years ago, we started doing sound card applications, and we really didn't have that great a horsepower in our PCs. But now we have got so much horsepower in our PCs that, a simple sound card interface like this, and then couple that with some very sophisticated software to do the modulation and demodulation, we can do, everything with a sound card interface that, used to require dedicated hardware to do this kind of stuff. So we've had very good success, packet radio, piece of cake using a sound card interface like the products that Kevin makes, and Signal Link and the others as well. And same thing now with VARA, VARA HF and VARA FM. We're seeing very good speeds off of that, much faster than what we see on packet radio, and even on the HF side, speeds approaching what we can do with Pactor 3 and maybe even Pactor 4 on good conditions. So this is really good. This is good stuff for emergency communications. We can actually start moving a reasonable amount of data, and with a relatively inexpensive piece of hardware and just some software. And most of the software is free. Most of you know that VARA requires registration to get the highest speed out of it, but even that, that's pretty cheap compared to a TNC or a Pactor modem or something like that. So I think it's been a very successful thing, and I also moderate a couple of the Winlink forums, so I know I've probably helped some of you out there. That's a really good place to go if you're trying to get Winlink running with these devices. Go to that forum and post your questions up there, and we've got a whole group of us moderators that will be happy to help you with that. And if you do that, please, on your initial posting, give us a lot of information. Don't just say, "Hey, I plugged this in, it doesn't work. What do I do now?" Tell us what radio you're using, what computer you're using, what software you're running, how everything's hooked up, and then we can more easily answer your questions. Is that what you're looking for, Kevin?
Yes, thank you so much. Scott's one of the folks that have graciously helped me out with some assembly of this product. His soldering skills are every bit as good as mine. I've had some people say, "Are you a robot?" No, I'm not. I've been soldering. I'm 56 years old, and I've been soldering for almost 50 years. And Scott's just as good at doing this assembly as I am. His product, you know, is perfect. So in most cases, if I'm not the one that's assembling it, it's going to be him. So.
And I do feel like a robot. When I put together a DRA 36, I can do it in about 20 minutes now. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else? And hi, Scott.
Hi there.
Any more questions? How about you, Barry? Do you see anything?
I'm looking right now. Someone wants to know if there's much activity using the old AX25 BBS digipeater systems, or has that been mostly switching over to direct?
I'm going to let Scott go ahead and address that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
How much activity is there on the old AX25 digipeater / BBS systems?
Surprisingly, there's still quite a bit of activity. And it varies from region to region around the country. There are some places where you'd be hard pressed to find anything on AX.25, and then there are other places that have pretty extensive networks. We used to have a pretty extensive network here in the Pacific Northwest, and it's mostly been disassembled at this point, so it's really mostly just Winlink stations and APRS now. But there's a couple of big networks. I know Florida has a big network, and the Northeast has a pretty substantial packet network still in operation. So yeah, it's unfortunately we're still running 1200 baud on most of these things, and it takes a long time to get a message through, but they're still functional.
Okay.
I think one of the things that's important is that this hardware certainly is capable of continuing the 1200 tradition, and then it allows you to jump into some higher modes. So, you know, if you wanted to deploy the hardware and get people enough interested in it, you know, to make a switch, then certainly you're not alienating everyone in the process of trying to, you know, get something started in your particular area.
Okay. Well, is there anything? This has been a really good presentation. It is a little different than I envisioned it was going to be, but we're getting lots of conversations and lots of good discussions here. Is there anything else out here? I don't see your hands raised. Barry, how you doing?
Everything is up to date.
Okay. Well, Kevin, Scott, unless you guys have got some more stuff, we'll start wrapping this up.
I think I'll just do a quick summary. Certainly, I'd like to thank you, Dan, you know, and Barry, and all the rest of the folks here that have gathered together to make this presentation possible. We were very happy to be a guest here today, and our hope is that we can continue to provide reasonably priced radio adapters to the ham radio community. Realize that we are very ham radio oriented in our company. We like to employ other hams to help us do our work. So, you know, there's no offshore Chinese assemblies, things of that nature. We like to try to keep it all in-house, keep it local, and keep the hobby going. So that's one of the things that that we certainly attempt to try to do here at Masters Communications.
Okay, I see Jim's got his hand up. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I just was going to mention that Oliver got us going with UZ7HO software packet modem, and then using the DR50 sound card, and so it makes it kind of I want to say you can use either one. You can use packet or Vera FM, whichever one you want to use. Is pretty seamless that way. And I just want to thank Kevin again, because you were very helpful in getting us set up and getting all of our potentiometers set the right way. So I really appreciate it. That's all I had.
Oh, thanks so much.
I have one question for you, Kevin.
Sure, go ahead.
If they have the Hamfest in October in Melbourne, will you be coming down?
More than likely I will be, yes.
Okay, then I'll probably see you there.
Okay, good deal. Good deal, Barry, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? Speak up or type up or something.
Everything looks good from here, Dan.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, appreciate you being here tonight. We started out with quite a few, over 100, I noticed.
Over 100?
Say again, Barry, I cut you off.
150.
Okay, that's a pretty good number. So appreciate that. And at this point, unless somebody's got some more, I'm going to shut this thing down and look forward to seeing you all next week on our next part of this series.
We'll email out the recording to everyone, right?
Yes, I will be sending out the video links for the recording. There's no documentation on this one, so that won't be doing that. But everybody will have a chance to go through the video again and share it with other people. I wish you would.
And there's one person that wants to be added to the list in the chat.
Okay.
That way here.
I'm sorry, did I misunderstand you? Did you say you have one in chat?
Yeah, he put it in chat, so you can send it to him. You can look at that later.
Okay, cool. All righty. With that, I'll thank Kevin and Scott for what they've done tonight. It's been some good discussions. I think we all learned something here tonight, and that's what this is all about. So with that, I'm going to say 73s and pull the plug, and look forward to seeing all the emails I get from you guys. 73s, everyone.
Good night, everybody.